The first time I truly fell in love with a board game was playing the OG Hero Quest with my brother in the early 90s. Since then, dungeon crawls and tactical adventurous games and cooperative games have maintained a welcome hold on my heart. Because you better believe we made our own homebrew co-op modes, iPads not coming out for another few decades be damned. But for all the innovation in this genre, or genres really, nothing has quite felt so familiar while at the same time turning the whole thing on its head like Leviathan Wilds, a game of climbing, collaboration, and the perils of gravity. Long ago, the titanic guardians of the Earth went mad, corrupted by strange crystals, destroying the world, but now the vestiges of humanity have learned how to recover these leviathans, and heroic climbers perilously scale the enraged behemoths to destroy the vile gems before time runs out. Over 17 scenarios, each with its own Leviathan sporting unique rules, behavior cards, and challenges, players cooperate with their climber's unique combination of character and class to destroy all crystals before any hero's health meets the blight level on their track, signifying one final set of turns to achieve victory or fail. And speaking of combinations, in a deft bit of Cardboardian razzmatazz, each scenario starts with a player shuffle building an action deck together, mashing a couple of character-specific cards with a chosen class, and this deck drives your actions, abilities, and perhaps most crucially, represents your stamina. See, your hand is 3 cards, and yeah, you got your character's passive ability, but at the start of each turn, you pick one card that says how many action points you get. You can spend those on climbing orthogonally, jumping if you need to bypass certain spaces or even cover gaps, more efficiently glide, i.e. descend diagonally, or attack crystals on your space, typically at a 1-to-1 action point for damage ratio, being sure to increase your level of blight by 1 for each strike against the extra nasty teal blighted crystals. But you ain't no scrub. This ain't your first tactical rodeo. You don't want to use default actions, you want to use your character-specific actions. Well, any card can be played freely from your hand for their unique effect, and each class and character specializes, and in some cases, have really interesting strategic gimmicks that help them or other players navigate and survive the map. So you want to do lots of stuff. Okay, well, you play through your cards, and then, yeah, you get to draw up to your hand size at the end of the turn, which is awesome, except for the fact that if you ever draw the very last card from your deck, well, your deck is called your grip for a reason, and you've lost your grip. Then you just fall, plummeting to the first ledge space below you, suffering damage penalties of any space in between. Bad news. Well, usually bad news. I mean, sometimes you want to fall, and you can freely let go at any time, and that might actually be the best way to descend quickly to get out of the way of danger. But bottom line, you'll also need to rest, which can only be done on ledges populated throughout the map, recovering your discard pile into your relatively small deck so you can venture out anew. So, continual evaluation of your stamina, your health, and your proximity to, and also above specific types of terrain is incredibly intuitive, vitally important, and also very, very cool. So far, we've largely talked about your character and the environment, which may leave you wondering what the heck you're fighting against in this game. That's probably my favorite part of Leviathan Wilds, in that the dangers are environmental based, and I don't mean in some green eco-focused thematic way, I mean practically. The scale of the beast, the damaging terrain that causes you to suffer strain and health penalties, the blighting crystals, and your own limitations drive the pressures of the game. Well, that and the fact that the Leviathan itself is no fan of dudes riding its back, so it's also an active participant in your demise. Every turn starts with revealing one of the Leviathan's 5 unique threat cards, foreshadowing its effect after the player resolves their turn. Often, in dramatic fashion, this could be targeting the climber's position when the card is revealed, giving them a chance to get out of dodge before their turn is up, and any climbers in the splash zone suffer a mighty thwack. But time is not on your side in Leviathan Wilds. While there's no set turn or round limit, when 5 turns have passed corresponding to the 5 threat cards, they are reshuffled and the threat tracker advances, causing more and more of the threat cards to be on their much more fearsome enraged side, meaning that if victory isn't swiftly obtained, loss is inevitable. Leviathan Wilds has been such a joy. The unique blend of pressure and peril and dire but non-combative stakes feels like it preserves the best parts that I love from tactical dungeon crawl games while still standing completely apart. The ease of operation, from the Leviathan's unique scenario effects and behavior to the tight but relatively simple relationship between actions, abilities, and endurance, and the intrinsic verticality that makes the whole thing come together, blends into a surprisingly jam-packed but tight-playing game, rarely eclipsing the 60-minute mark on the box. And the cool way that it circumvents the annoying need to dual hand solo in these types of games works surprisingly well, where you manage 2 characters, each with their own character cards, abilities, and turns, but driven by a commingled deck with a singular class and operating with 1 hand. I'm clearly a big fan. That said, know what you're getting into. The lack of progression and carryover elements from scenario to scenario does encourage you to explore more into different unique combinations of character and class, and starting fresh each play takes away a lot of the baggage and limitations from these types of games, but I'd be lying if I didn't admit that it'd be cool to see some sort of connectivity, and that may be in part because there's no real arc of empowerment in an individual scenario. Aside from little mushrooms you can pick up as random one-time niblets that might give you a free movement or heal 1, you aren't going to get more powerful as the scenario gets more dire. In fact, you'll never be as fighting fit as you are at the start of a scenario. Perhaps more realistic, but entropy is a B. And while the setting is incredibly imaginative and the components, particularly the beautiful character meeples, feel really cohesive, the production feels a bit lax. The illustrations don't feel as crisp as they could be, and inevitably you'll overlook a mushroom or crystal to be set up on a scenario, which may be more on the part of graphic design rather than aesthetic, and in this case I can cut the studio's debut some slack. And if those are the trade-offs, I'll gladly take them to have something that feels truly unique but scratches a familiar itch. Leviathan Wilds is tense, tactical, creative, and underpinned by really strong co-op game design fundamentals that achieves a really welcome balance that I highly recommend. And that's our review. But let me know, what are the games that you first fell in love with that just imprinted an awe of a specific genre or something that you've held in your heart in relation to the gaming community, gaming hobby, gaming space throughout your entire gaming career? Put it in the comments below. And as always, thanks for watching, thanks for supporting, thanks for being such an awesome community. You know that I've been Jack for the Cardboard Herald.